Welcome to the Visualize Meditations podcast, hosted by your friend Sasha Patil, a Chopra certified meditation teacher. The first step to creating the life of your dreams is to create a clear and compelling vision for what you want for the future. I'll be guiding you on visualization meditation so you can get clear on your deepest desires. Let's get started so you can turn your vision into a reality. Hi, hello, what's up? It's your gal pal Sasha. Welcome back to another episode of the Visualize Meditations podcast. To paint the scene for you, I am still in Newcastle. I am bulk recording all of these intros and outros just because I have the time to while I'm here. I am just about halfway through my Australia trip, and the first 2 weeks of the trip, I was with people who took off time and they were in vacation mode, so I didn't get as much work done as I wanted to. While I'm here hanging out with my friends, everyone I'm staying with is also in work mode, so it's enabled me to get a lot of stuff done. So that's why I'm here, bulk recording everything, and I'm still figuring out the balance between enjoying my time, being present in my travels, and also getting shit done and growing my business and all of that. So I'm still figuring out that balance, and that's something I'm learning on the journey. So this next interview is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite interview I've done so far. I am interviewing Heather, who is a close friend from Tony Robbins Summer Camp, GYLS, and she has some crazy stories. This girl has lived a lot of life, and I ask the same questions that I'd normally ask people, but she really tells these incredible stories that are mind-blowing and really just epic. There's no other way to put it. They're just freaking epic. And the funny thing about this recording is that we recorded this episode while we were waiting for the New Year's Eve fireworks underneath the Harbor Bridge. So if you see the video, which I don't know where and when I'm posting it, it'll be out eventually. It might be on social media. It might be out on the platforms. I'm not sure. I'm still figuring this shit out. But there are a ton of people around us. There's a ton of commotion going on. You'll hear noise in the background. You'll hear a lot of stuff. But we are sitting on 2 lawn chairs on a packed, solid lawn waiting for the New Year's Eve fireworks in Sydney, Australia. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. It's one of my favorites, and I think you're gonna love it and gain so much from it. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to this highly dysfunctional episode
of the Visualize Meditations podcast. Just to paint the scene for you guys, I'm here with my gal pal Heather. Hi. And right now we are waiting for the fireworks on New Year's Eve by the Harbor Bridge.
In Sydney, Australia.
You have been here since 7 o'clock this morning.
We've been here since 7 a.m. this morning, and when we arrived there was maybe 100 people, and now how many people do you think there are?
Hundreds? Thousands?
No, like thousands.
A lot of people.
I reckon there's 10,000 people around us, behind and in front.
Yeah, there are a lot of people. Heather and her family have been here since 7 a.m. I got here at 1 p.m. and we've been hanging out.
We've been holding down the fort.
Yeah, that's literally what we've been doing. We've just been taking turns staking out this spot. We have blankets, we got snacks going, we got games going.
You're gonna need a video of what we can see in front of us, because what you can see looks like madness, but what we can see is true madness.
Yeah, there are people behind us. As you guys know, and Heather, I've told her about it, but essentially on this journey, this epic journey, I'm talking to people along the way. I've known Heather. Well, actually, we're going to get into it. We're going to get into my 10 questions. And then maybe we'll do a couple bonus for my little game.
Okay, great.
Okay. My first question. I have it on an actual piece of paper.
I love it.
How do we know each other?
Do we?
Do we actually? Do we know each other at all?
Well, I know that you nearly beat me in playing Skippo just recently.
I did not nearly beat you. I barely know how to play this game. I've never seen the Skippo game in my life.
It's like advanced Uno, I would say. Advanced Uno.
Yeah.
How do we know each other? We know each other because we met at the Global Youth Leadership Summit in San Diego University in 2000 and...
I'm the same year as Craig, Heather's little brother.
2014?
Something like that. 2014, 2015, so 10 years.
10 years.
We've known each other.
Whoa.
Come tonight, we've known each other 10 years.
Whoa.
I know. That's crazy, dude.
Cue manic laughter.
Like, when did this happen? I feel like all of my close friends are through Tony Robbins. Global Youth Leadership Summit is a Tony Robbins summer camp, which is the same way I know all of my best friends. But yeah, I think Heather and I have not seen each other for 6 years.
6 years we worked out. And I think the reason why it doesn't matter is because one of the principles of this camp that we met is very much about seeing people for who they are and who they want to be, not necessarily what you've done. It's not a competition about what kind of accolades you have or where you've come from. It's more so about who you are on the inside, and then being able to represent that in a way that is non-confrontational and beautiful. And I think that's why after not seeing each other for 6 years, it's so easy to just
Snap back into it.
pick it up and go for gold.
Yeah. The nature of these Tony Robbins events is that you get so deep with the people around you, is that you might know their greatest desires, their greatest fears, their deepest traumas. You deep dive and you really analyze all of that with the people you're around. So I don't know basic stuff about anyone I've met through Tony Robbins, but I do know everything you've gone through in your life. But that's how we know each other.
And having fun together.
Yes.
I think that's the best part of all. Like when you're in ordinary friendships, often it's prioritized to just sit down and catch up, tell me what's been going on, etc. I find that kind of relationship so boring when you're doing it with people that you truly already know.
Yeah.
And it's way easier to actually go and do an activity and have an adventure and come and watch the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Yeah, just come picnic out with your family for the whole day. No, it's true, because I feel like a lot of adult friendships are like, let's sit down and get dinner or drinks and catch up for an hour about what's happening for the last year. We caught up, I think, maybe for 30 minutes to an hour, and we didn't even catch up on what's happening in life. We just literally both talked about our relationships and then did not do any other catching up. That was it.
Then we were making friends with some people sitting next to us, and they were asking us, so what do you guys do for work? And that's when I was learning for the first time what you're doing for work now.
That's why I learned for the first time what you're doing right now. And you'll just mention it casually, like, oh yeah, the UN, and I'm like, what? What are you saying? Okay. Okay. My next question is, you can interpret this however you'd like to.
Okay, I can't look at you because you're behind me, so I stare into the distance.
You stare into the distance.
That is all of us represented.
That's fine. What's your story?
What's my story? Which one do you want?
You can interpret it however you'd like. I've had people interpret it in different ways.
My literal story right now is I am writing a book that is basically a personal biography. Well, that's what a biography is, personal. It is my personal biography.
It's an autobiography.
An autobiography.
Right.
But it is centered around all of the different acts of kindness that I've gotten the privilege to experience in my life. Whether it's something that I have done or something that, sorry, I'm getting distracted because there's a lot happening around us.
There's a lot happening right now.
There's
thousands of people.
And there's questions and comments happening.
Yeah, there's questions happening. There's Heather's fiance card game happening right here.
My mum's just behind there trying to somehow get to the toilet. It's not possible.
It's not possible.
It's not possible.
No.
Good luck. May the odds be ever in your favor.
We'll see. People running around.
Police running.
There was a beach ball going at some point.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're writing an autobiography about acts of kindness.
Yeah. So in my life, I've been very, 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 very privileged to experience so many beautiful acts of kindness. And it's because, not of luck, but of the way that I approach the way I want to live my life. And also then, of course, getting put into opportunities of privilege where I'm able to follow in these hunches and dreams and beautiful things. For example, once I was in the US and I decided I wanted to go to the Floating Lantern Festival.
Okay.
And the Floating Lantern Festival was in Nevada.
Okay.
And I had no idea how I was going to get there.
Wait, when you say floating lantern, do you mean like hot air balloons?
No, Tangled.
Oh, Tangled, okay.
When you have the lantern, you light the candle and you write your dreams on it, the outside, and then you let it up. That. And I decided I really wanted to go to that. And it was happening just at an event that I had been at, which was actually a Tony Robbins event. And I started telling people, and they said, what are you doing after this? He said, I'm going to the Floating Lantern Festival. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's this amazing festival. It's in the desert. There's thousands of people that come together and they're like, do you have a ticket? I'm like, no. They're like, how are you getting there? I'm like, not sure yet. And eventually, someone randomly, which was not my intention, but someone randomly offered me their flight miles to buy me a ticket to go to Las Vegas to get there. And I rejected it at first. I was like, no, I don't need charity. I'll do it myself. And she said, no, please, this isn't charity. This is a random act of kindness. It would be my greatest privilege because I can't come with you. I'd love to be part of it in some way. And I was like, okay, I gratefully accept. And so then I went from that and I got to the location and I had this unicorn bag tag on my luggage, and as it came out on the luggage belt, the person I was standing next to said, oh my gosh, I love that unicorn bag tag. And I hated the unicorn bag tag. Someone had given it to me as a gift, and often people would give me like unicorn things, which I did not resonate with at all. I'm like really not the person to give plastic rainbow things to.
But honestly, the unicorn as an avatar makes sense for your personality.
See, I disagree. I think a hummingbird makes sense.
A hummingbird?
Yeah, I'm just like, just going around, doing my cute little thing, going from flower to flower, hanging out with my homies over here, going to drink some water from a puddle over there.
Why a hummingbird and not like another type of bird?
Well, there's lots of lovely birds. I also like the black red-tailed cockatoo in Australia. I also feel like that's one of my birds.
Okay.
They have a huge wingspan. They're like a really big bird, really big. And they're just so magnificent and beautiful, and the way that they interact with the world, I don't know. But I feel like that's way more representative than a unicorn. Think about it.
I don't
Glitter
know.
and rainbows and plastic.
It's not that. It's just like it's not the rainbows, plastic, whatever. The unicorn, how I see you, is very much so like this mystical being that's one of a kind, and yeah, that's like how I view it.
I'll take one of a kind. What about like a grandmother tree?
But that's not like a mystical.
Have you never seen a mystical grandmother tree that has beautiful like fairies living around it, and moss and mushrooms and all this cool stuff happening? Beehive.
It's not like quite wacky enough, I think. Like maybe if there was, like I see that with the wisdom, but there's got to be some other sort of, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I know, bookmarked. So I've got this thing, right? This bag tag on my bag.
Okay.
And they say, I love it so much. I said, fantastic, you can have it. Please, take it away. I don't want it. Someone gave it to me as a gift. I really don't want it.
Yeah.
He said, really, for me? And I said, absolutely. He said, please, I would like for you to come in the Uber with us. We'll pay for your Uber to your accommodation. I said, okay, great. Pay for my Uber to my accommodation. Why not? Let's go. They were on a work trip. They didn't really care.
Yeah.
And then while I was in the Uber, and they were asking me about my story, and I was sharing, and then the Uber driver, after he dropped the other people off, then I was second to be dropped off. And then he said, how are you going to get from here in the center of Las Vegas to the desert where the festival's happening? I said, I don't know. Maybe I'll catch a bus or something. I'll make it there, don't worry. And he said, what on earth? Okay, what about this? I'll trade you. You help me with some counseling for my wife and son. And he was telling me that he had a teenage son, and I do a lot of coaching with young people and also with parents on how to interact better as a family unit or to understand each other. I said, how about you do some coaching with me while we're driving, and I'll drive you there. I said, deal, let's go. And so then this man drove me into the middle of the desert, and it took 2 hours to get there.
Whoa.
It was so far, and we're just yapping the whole time, having this great chat. Very beautiful and beneficial for both of us. And then when we arrived, he said, part of me really wanted to bring you here because I didn't believe there was a floating lantern festival, but man, there's a lot of people. It's like, yeah, I know, right? And so I got out. I didn't have a ticket yet to this festival. And out the front, I was just about to purchase a ticket on my phone. Like I was literally going to go confirm order. And this random dude came up to me and said, hey, are you about to buy a ticket for the event? I said, yeah. I've got a spare one. My other daughter couldn't come. Do you want to just buy it off me? And I was like, hell yeah, I'd way rather buy it from you than to buy it from the organization. Yeah. And so he said, great, come in with me. And so it was him, his daughter, and one of his very good friends. And the four of us went in together, and they were like, hold on, are you here by yourself? And I was like, yeah, I'm here by myself. And they said, what, you can't even let off a lantern by yourself. They're too big.
Yeah.
That's it, you have to come and sit with us, we insist. In this lantern festival, there are live bands everywhere. There's fireworks happening, there's lights everywhere. Like, it's so beautiful. And so I ended up staying with this family, and they were the only people who were dancing with the music. And so the four of us were just dancing and having this most amazing time. And at one point, my lantern hit this other lantern, and then it hit this other lantern, and they all went off into the side of the desert, away from the crowd.
Yeah.
And of course, you chase your lantern. You've got to make sure it's in the air.
Yeah.
I'm chasing it. I catch it. And then I see on both of the other two lanterns that had hit each other, the thing that those two women were releasing, and they'd run after it as well, both of them said miscarriage. And they'd hit each other.
Wow.
Both of them. And so then I'm standing there with these two other women, and I'm like, listen, ladies, both of your lanterns, you've written the exact same thing. This is a sign. You have to have a conversation. And they were just looking at me like, ha 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 ha, okay, Australian. And then started walking away, and I turned around and I was like, no guys, I'm serious. This is a sign. You have to have a chat.
Yeah.
And they ended up sitting down and having such a long conversation about me afterwards, and were like, thank you so much for encouraging us to have a conversation, because I haven't found someone to talk to about this before.
Wow.
And so all of these random domino points are happening in this journey, right? And it's just one after the other, each thing just unfolding.
Yeah.
And then I get back, and I'm with my little family again, this group of people.
Yeah.
And at the end, I go to pay the guy in cash, and he would not accept it. And he said, honestly, you have made our life so much better by joining us in this time. We cannot accept your money for the ticket. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence. And then didn't let me pay for it. And it was like 300 Australian dollars.
Wow.
Like, it was a really expensive ticket.
Yeah.
And it was such a kindness. And as we were leaving this festival, now it's, I don't know, 11 p.m. And he's like, how are you getting home? And I said, I figured I was going to hitchhike. You're going to hitchhike? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. There's thousands of wholesome people here, all at this floating lantern wish festival. It's fine. Someone's going to take me home. And then I went around, and I got rejected by not one, not two, but 11 people. I asked if I could hitch a lift with them home. 11 people I got rejected by. And in the end, I ended up talking to this one guy. His name was Michael. And I asked him, he said, you know what, I'm not going that way. But yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take you back to your hostel. And I was like, thank you. And this other guy who got the ticket, he was like, I'm staying with you till I find the guy and I can investigate him. And then he had a word with him. He said, if I find out that Heather's dead, I will find you. And he's taking photos of the car of the guy. It's like having an uncle. He's just rocked up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I get into this car, and then it turns into a convertible, which was very cool. And we're driving with the music blaring, and I say to this guy, I'm like, listen, I've never been to Las Vegas before. I'd love to see a little bit. Could you take me to a club or a bar, or my main dream is really witnessing a shotgun wedding. That would be the best. Maybe be a part of a wedding in some way. And he's just like, weird request, but yeah, let's do it. And he takes me like into Las Vegas, and I say, one catch, by the way, I don't want to do any drugs, and I don't want to drink any alcohol. I want to experience this sober, and I want to be able to just feel really safe in that. And he said, your wish is my command. And I went around all of Las Vegas with this dude who happened to be the very right person, because every single place we turned up to, we got waved in. Every single place. I did not wait in one line. We went to so many places. I wanted to go to a strip club. We went to a strip club. I wanted to go to a bar. I wanted to see the fountain water go off. We saw everything. It was just like, it was so surreal and amazing. And then at the very end of the night, and maybe it's 3 or 4 in the morning by now, I'm like, okay, I want to go home. And I booked an Uber to come and get me and take me home. And just before I was leaving, Michael said to me, Heather, your string of kindness that you've just shared with me and that we've experienced together has been so incredible. I want to be the last piece of the kindness. And I said, oh, really? How? And he said, I'm a hairdresser. Please come to my salon tomorrow and I'm going to give you a full hairdo. And I'm going to cut your hair.
Every time Heather tells me a story, every single time, I'm thinking the story's going to go one way and then it's just left out of left field, something completely different. Okay, so you go to the salon?
I go to the salon in the morning. I get my hair done. I say goodbye to Michael. I had lunch with Michael, and at the time, I don't know what I was thinking. I wish that I had bought him lunch. I can't tell you how much I wish that I had bought him lunch.
Yeah.
We went out to lunch and we just paid our own bills because it was, you just do that.
Yeah.
And I still to this day, Michael, I wish I'd bought you lunch.
Come on, Michael. If you're out there, Michael, please send us your Venmo.
Come to Australia.
Just come to
I'll buy you
Australia.
lunch. I'll take you for a haircut. But it was just the funniest moment of like, that regret.
This is just like the most Heather story ever. And you're just like the definition of a free spirit.
A free spirit with amazing boundaries and really, really good at listening to my intuition, which wasn't always the case. And I had to work on a long time on being able to have this confidence, not only as a human, but as a woman, trusting a lot of different strangers in my adventures. And I think something that's not talked about enough is that how important it is to really hone in on what your boundaries are and what your yes is and what your no is, and being willing to stand up for it when it's
being tested. Yeah,
exactly.
And then how do you practice like listening to your intuition?
Usually the feeling that I have of if I want to do something is a very strong yes.
It's like a fuck yes.
It's an absolute fuck yes. Like, for example, I was watching Tim Minchin, who's an amazing performer, and I was there with my beautiful fiance Adam, and after the show, well, actually, firstly, this show was the best show I've ever seen, and it was purely also by chance that's the reason, because it was the opening show of Tim Minchin. He's an amazing singer-songwriter, etc. And he's very funny too at the same time.
Okay.
And he's done this whole show. And there was something that was a little bit off that I couldn't put my finger on. Like, I fell asleep in the middle of my favorite performer. And I was like, what's going on? Why am I asleep right now? And I was finding it really hard to stay awake. But what happens when the human brain, when your subconscious feels overwhelmed, there's something that's going on, you often will go to sleep. So if you find that you're in a movie or a situation or something, when you're too overwhelmed, you will just fall asleep. Like, it might have been a big conversation that you didn't want to have or be a part of, and you find you're really tired and you fall asleep. So at the end of Tim's show, he said, in the interest of having full transparency with my audience, which he always does, he said, I just want to let everyone know that last night my mother died, and that I refuse to not do this show because this is my life's work and you are my people, and I don't want to let you down, I don't want to let her down, I don't want to let myself down.
Yeah.
And he did this speech, right? And everyone's mouth is on the ground. You just like, where do you go from that after being entertained and experiencing this beautiful environment? And then his next song he did, it's called White Wine in the Sun. I believe that's the name of the song. And it's all about when he introduced his baby girl to his mum. I'm gonna cry for the first time when they went back to England to see. Wow. And it's this gorgeous song. And the poignance of that being at that moment after his mum had just passed, and the room was silent, beyond silent. And then he said, this is something that every performer knows you should never do, but there's nothing else I can do in this moment. You should never end your set on someone else's song that's not an original. He said, but I can't, we have to do this. He said, turn the lights off. And you can tell it wasn't planned because the people didn't know how to turn the lights off.
Yeah.
Like all of the stage hands, everything. He was like, turn the lights off. And they turned off every light in the theatre. And he got everyone to sing Hallelujah together as a choir.
Wow.
And it was the most heart-chilling, beautiful moment. And then once that finished and everyone was leaving, no one moved from their chairs. He must have had a 10-minute standing ovation. No one moved after that. He left, he's gone. Everyone's just sitting in the theatre like, how are we meant to live our lives now? We just have to stay here.
Yeah.
And Adam and I were walking out, finally out of the theatre, and I saw a woman who was sitting on a chair by one of the back doors, and I'd already walked up 2 flights of stairs, and I just had this feeling I have to go back and see if she's okay. And then I went back and I just went up to her and I said, hi, and I had this kindness card. I make kindness cards because I love having beautiful things to be able to give people, like this is a kindness card.
My understanding was it was saying...
By the way, Heather's family's looking at her like she's crazy.
Yeah, my
they're
family...
like, what are they doing?
My family always looks at me like I'm crazy, it's fine. I'm really used to it as the eldest sibling. I'm so used to it. So that's a kindness card, that's a sticker version. But I had one in my pocket and I went and I gave it to her. And I said, I just wanted to know, like, how you doing? And I wanted to give you this. And she said, thank you so much for coming and talking to me. I never thought I'd be able to leave that chair. I didn't know how to leave the theatre. She said, could I have a hug? Would that be okay? And I was like, absolutely, I'd love to give you a hug. And I'm just there hugging this random stranger, which is really how a lot of my stories end, to be honest with you. Me and this random stranger are hugging, and she's, thank you so much for coming back for me. And what a concept to think that I don't know her, but I came back for her because I had a feeling of intuition that I should. And to the point that I went all the way back down the stairs to go and see her. And what I love about my fiance is that he does never question me. He always encourages me in these moments of course you have to go back. Yes. And then when it's a no, when I'm like, this is an absolute not, it's also like even just a tiny little feeling of, oh, I think I should turn back. I always do that. I always turn back. And it's hard to determine between...
Even if it's just like a little... So how do you differentiate between a little thought in the back of your head that might feel like anxiety?
Exactly. I was just about to say that. It's hard sometimes to differentiate between anxiety and intuition.
Yeah.
But more than not, anxiety comes from here, and it's more questions about what will people think, what if I didn't do that, I should, like it's there. And then intuition is more like here in your tummy, like under your rib cage. It's more of a feeling there. So I often feel like, is the feeling coming from here or is the feeling coming from here?
Okay, so is it a thought or like a gut feeling?
Exactly.
Okay. All right, interesting.
But yeah, so that's my very long answer to...
Of what's your story?
And that's definitely not even my story, but...
You told us 2 stories though.
I know. So that's my story.
That's
Beautiful
your story.
Magic together.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Majestic as fuck.
Accurate. So accurate. Okay.
Or just... I walked up to a random official at the United Nations in Azerbaijan and I wanted an opening line, and my opening line was, if I was to describe myself with one word, it would be diabolical. What's yours? And he just looked at me like, there are prime ministers and presidents walking around and this is my opening line, and he just burst into laughter.
Oh my God.
And then we started talking about some mafia TV show that he was watching. Like, it was the perfect line. But yeah, diabolical.
I love it. Okay, so what's the best piece of advice and the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
By the way, the best thing about sitting here is that we can just see the full harbour. So there's boats going past.
Gorgeous. It's so gorgeous.
It's so beautiful. The best piece of advice I ever received was when I was, maybe I was 7. And when I was young, I wore 2 hearing aids, so I was like a lot deaf, and I had lots of operations on my eardrums, and I was in and out of hospital. And when you're in the hospital as a kid, you're with all the kids. I was with a lot of seriously sick kids, and so when I was a kid, a lot of my friends died very young. And in Australia, in the hospitals, they have these people called the Starlight Foundation, and it's like the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah.
And they dress up in these full starship uniforms.
Yeah.
And they have Captain Starlights, who are men and women who walk around the hospital and who are very, like, talented actors, actresses, doctors, like incredible people.
Yeah.
And one of them came up to me after my friend had died when I was 7, and he opened up a map of the stars, and he pointed to one of the stars kneeling in front of me on the floor, and he said, "This is your friend now." He said, "It's really important to love people while they're in front of you before they become a star. But if you ever want to talk to them, you can just look up in the sky and they'll be right there."
Wow.
And it was like, that has stuck with me through and through in so much of my life's interactions, and definitely is a big reason of who I am today.
Yeah.
Because I'm always looking at how can I love people when they're in front of me, whether I met them for 5 minutes or 50 years. Like, how can I love them when I'm in front of me? So that would be the best advice. And the worst advice, I've received a lot of bad advice. I really have. That's the thing with bad advice. You don't usually know it's bad advice until you've already done it, and you're like, why did I do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Two things.
Okay.
One thing, when I was 15, I went to the careers advisor to ask for permission to go to a university open day for IT and engineering.
Yeah.
And she sat me down and she said, "I can't believe you would be so selfish." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" This is the careers advisor, the person employed by the education system to help you to do something with your life. And I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "You're never going to be smart enough to go to university."
What the
I
fuck?
can't believe you'd take a position away from somebody else.
Oh my God. This person said that to you?
To me, as a little impressionable 15-year-old. Maybe I was 14.
Oh my God.
I was like,
That's horrible.
what?
That's fucked up, dude.
So that wasn't so much.
If you're listening, fuck you.
No, she's dead. I checked.
Oh, she's dead.
Bless you wherever you are.
She's a star right now.
Yeah, she's out. And another piece of advice that I'm still, which is very fresh, but I'm still kind of like toying with at the minute, is
please follow directions from police and event staff.
I really never used to be interested in any way in labels, in anything for myself, whether it was deaf, whether it was hearing impaired, whether it was dyslexic, dyspraxic, whether it was anything. I didn't like labels. Like, I've been told that I have had chronic fatigue. I've been told that I'm anemic. I know that as well. I know that I have dyslexia. I know that I have social anxiety, which no one would ever choose to think that I have, because of how in the world that I am. And advice I got in the past was never define yourself by a label, which I agree with. But the second part of that, which I don't think we talk about enough, is that when you have something that you can identify with that makes sense to you in whatever label that is, there is so much research and things that you can tap into and resources that can help you with that one specific thing. And I think that a lot of my life I've spent really fighting labels.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, sometimes having a label that helps you to gain resources is really helpful. I think that sometimes there's an unhealthy part where we can also take it too far and we define ourselves as that label. I don't think that that's helpful.
Yeah.
But tapping into resources is really, really helpful. And knowing that, like, when I experience an anxious moment, that it's an anxious moment. It's not, I'm not anxious. I'm experiencing an anxious moment.
Yes.
And there are really great tools and tricks that you can use when experiencing that particular type of thing, which in my case was anxiousness. And I remember, if you knew what was happening now.
I don't know how much they're going to be able to hear, but
I really hope you can hear some of
hope they can hear
this.
this because this is gold. But there's a man in a multicolored shirt. Yeah, now he's leaving.
About how he doesn't drink and he's going to get his family and come back.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a moment, because I'm a public speaker. I've done professional speaking for over 10 years now. And I had hundreds and hundreds of people in a giant, whatever it's called, room waiting for me to come on stage. They're saying, welcome to the stage, Heather Miller. Everyone's clapping. Let's go. And I'm in the back of the stage, fully mic'd up, having a full-blown anxiety attack. And not knowing at that time that I experienced anxiety. Full blown. I'm crying, sobbing my eyes out, shaking. I'm not going out on stage. You couldn't pay me. I was being paid. I was like, I'm not going out there. And I called my best friend on the phone, and I'm just crying. She's, babe, you okay? I'm like, I can't go out. And she helped me do some breathing exercises, which obviously is very helpful in anxious moments.
Yes.
And then helped reframe it for me. And I walked out on the stage, and instead of doing my usual opening, I walked out there and I was completely honest. And I said, sorry, everyone. I'm not here on time because I was actually crying behind the stage because I was feeling really nervous. I was like, does anyone else ever just cry and they don't have a reason? Put up your hand. And the whole room put up their hand. And it was such a beautiful way of bringing everyone together and also being able to stand strong in my vulnerability and moment of anxiousness instead of trying to pretend like we're all
that you have it all together
and that no one experiences it.
Yeah. I find that people even resonate the most when you're honest about what you're going through and not just pretending everything's fine all the time and pretending that you have your shit together all the time. A lot of people relate to vulnerability because when you take down your walls, you give other people permission to also take down their walls.
Exactly.
And I think in the like world of social media, we get really caught up in making sure everything looks super perfect, but I feel like people resonate the most when you're real and fucking honest.
Yeah. Don't try and hide it.
Yeah.
But also don't try and use it as a victim story.
Exactly. It's
That's
like a fine
the too
line.
far point as well.
Or like when you're only able to connect with somebody over what you're fucking hating. No, that's not it.
No, that's not
It's like
it.
a fine line between vulnerability and victimhood.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have only a couple more hours of this year.
Oh, I thought you meant waiting for the final.
That too.
Yes, of this year.
Of this year, of 2024. So it's a very fitting question. In the year 2024, what was your biggest lesson?
Spend your money. Spend your money.
Okay.
I'd say that that's really fitting.
Spend your money.
I am an avid saver. I love to save. I love to invest. I love to make money. And sometimes I find it difficult in the past to spend money. And spend money on things like that place that you really want to live. Or spend money on that holiday that you've been dreaming of going on. Or, in my case, my fiance or boyfriend at the time went on a trip around Europe, and I'm there in all these places that I've always wanted to be, not wanting to eat at the restaurant because the pizza was too expensive or the experience felt like it was going to be too much or whatever.
Yeah.
And that there's no point in that. There's literally no point. Yes, in budgeting, but in being somewhere that you've always dreamed of being, having the money to do what you want and then choosing not to do it because you want to save your money for a rainy day makes no sense. So having that aha moment, and my friends actually really helped me. They honestly would encourage me all the time.
Yeah.
Please spend your money. Spend your money.
This
you don't know.
is fucking crazy because this is, like, I'm going to be vulnerable for a second here. Like, this is exactly what I needed to hear right in this moment because this is something I've been going through a lot recently because with planning this trip, I'm taking a whole year. I'm being a digital nomad traveling the world, and I've been so stressed about the money. I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get reimbursed for the $400 hostel when Dr. Leprechaun is coming to stay and is helping with the hotels and whatever, and it's, oh my God, I don't want to do the bridge climb because it's $50, but it's like, it's $250 to climb the bridge that 5 people have told me that it's the most incredible experience of their life. Like, stuff like that where it's like I'm on this once-in-a-lifetime trip, and I have so much money in savings. I have a ridiculous amount in savings for a 26-year-old with zero debt.
And your money.
I needed to hear this. This is what happens every time I talk to Heather. She like drops these wisdom bombs, and she doesn't know that this is exactly what I need to hear, but this happens every fucking time. And even your stories in the beginning of leaving room for spontaneity, and I don't know if you heard that, the little horn. Leaving room for spontaneity and opening yourself up to like opportunity just based on like kindness and giving out energy and just knowing that, like saying, oh, this is what I want. I don't know how I'm gonna get there, but I'm just gonna open my heart to it, give out kindness, and just let whatever happens needs to happen. It's for me, I feel like with planning this trip, I've been trying to control everything. Like instead of, I know what I want to do. I've written down these dreams I have of what I want to do this year, and I'm like just trying to control so hard about when am I going to be here, when am I going to do this, or when am I going to do this, and whatever. Because it's like the only control I feel like I have in my life right now, instead of just like taking the Heather approach and being like, I want to go to Burning Man. I don't know how to get a ticket. I don't know who I'm going to camp with. I don't know anyone else who wants to go, but I know I want to go.
And having the means to back yourself as well. Like I love what you said about you hold what you want to be true. And like I said, I wanted to go to the Floating Lantern Festival.
Yeah.
But I was fully ready to pay for my own flights, to pay for all of my Ubers, to catch the bus, to pay for my ticket. Like I was ready and prepared for that.
Yeah.
It's just that somehow the universe came in and was like, you don't have to, babe. We got you.
Yeah.
Keep going. You're on the right track.
Yeah.
And that's why I always think it's like that. Keep going. You're on the right track when those kindnesses drop in, because you're doing the thing that you want to do. But it doesn't mean you have to wait for someone to give it to you.
Right.
You can still do it and be like, nothing can stop me. I'm going to do this thing.
Right.
And enjoy it. Like I remember during COVID, I spent a year and a half of that time traveling in a camper van with an 83-year-old man, and in his camper van that I met by the river, and then in my camper van, which was my friend Ricky Lee's, together through all of Australia, and we got up into far Northern Territory, like past Uluru, etc.
Yeah.
And there was this thing called Horizontal Falls that I'd never heard of before, and it's like an amazing wonder of Australia.
Okay.
And we get there, and it was, you could get there via private helicopter, or you could get there via seaplane. That was the only option, and the helicopter was $200 more than the seaplane. And me and my friend were like, you know what? When are we ever gonna do this again in this tiny, remote, middle of nowhere place? When are we ever gonna do this again? And we paid the extra money to go on the helicopter.
Yeah.
And then we went and we wore our fancy clothes. I'm like, babe, we're going in a helicopter. I don't know about you, but I've never been. We got to be fancy. We're like fancy ass,
Ball
you know,
out, bitch.
all out. Landing in this most beautiful blue turquoise water on this barge surrounded by red rocks. It was just insane. People are welcoming you with champagne as you get off the helicopter. Everyone else is taking photos of you on the barge because they think you're famous. And I'm like, yes, I am.
She's got her hair cut by Michael.
Yeah, I'm ready. And a woman on the boat who was maybe in her 70s started berating me and saying that I was too young to be enjoying this experience.
Okay.
And that I should be working at home and saving till I retire in order to be able to have this experience just like her.
Yeah.
And it's that contradiction, but really at the same time, that's what I have done in the past to myself. Of you have to wait. You
have
can't
to wait
do
to
it now.
enjoy. Yeah.
You need to save for a house first. You need to like all of that kind of nonsense that comes. And yes, of course, saving for whatever your goal is very important.
Yeah.
But also maybe your goal is this trip.
Yeah.
Maybe your goal is this moment. Maybe your goal is climbing the Harbour Bridge. Like, it's okay for that to be the goal.
Yeah, it's like, it's okay if, like, when am I ever going to be on my epic journey traveling the world in Australia with my loved ones? Like, who the fuck cares? I'm not like going crazy. It's not like whatever, regardless. It's something I definitely need to hear.
But you can if you want to.
I totally could if I wanted to.
And what does going crazy actually mean is the real question.
Honestly though, okay, if I'm gonna be so honest, I was gonna get my rhinoplasty done last year.
I don't know what that means.
Get my nose done? I was gonna get my nose done this past year, and this whole big ass story, okay? But basically, some shit happened in my relationship, and I was in a really, really dark spot, and I needed to go on a trip because I was so burnt out, and Tony Robbins' Life and Wealth was happening in Fiji 2 weeks later, and I was like, it was like one of those intuition, like everything my body said, fuck it, you have to go.
Yeah.
So I I booked it, and I spent like 15K on the trip.
Right.
But it's also like Tony Robbins. Like half of that was just, I think 2/3 of that was all just Tony Robbins.
That's very
and like
expensive.
the whatever.
Yeah.
But that would be going crazy, like 15K on a 2-week trip, 2 weeks before.
Great. So that's your definition of going crazy.
As of right now, yes. Ask me again in 10 years, that's going to be like a Wednesday. But yeah, that was my definition of crazy.
It's nice to know what your definition of crazy is, because then, or like your upper limit, right, of
Yeah.
spending, because
Yeah.
then you have something to base it off. So if you're thinking, oh, can I actually spend $200 to climb the Harbour Bridge? You'd be like, well, it's not 15K.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I can.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your upper limit? And that's something I was talking about with my dad too, because he was like, he knew how stressed out I was about it, because my ex-partner is an accountant. So we used to do all the bookkeeping together and everything like that. And so now without an accountant, I'm like, oh my God, like I don't know what's happening. Like I'm not looking at my finances. Like he was looking at it, and he was like helping me through it. My dad's like, Sasha, all you have to do is just make sure that what you're spending is less than what you're making, and you already saved 25% of your paycheck, so you're fine. Like, just make sure you're not spending above what you're making. And he's like, if you go over a couple months, he's like, it's fine. He's like, it's fine. Like, you have so much in savings. You're never gonna do this again. Just enjoy. Just enjoy.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my best friend Amy always says that, well, she said to me, well, not always says, she says to me a lot especially when I was in Europe, she was like, babe, it's just money.
You can make more.
Think about a game when you go and learn in a game where you're making tokens so you can come and do this thing. It's literally just that.
Yeah.
Just with friends. It's not that big of a deal. It's really not.
Yeah.
It's okay to spend money. It's okay to look after yourself, and also it's okay if you don't have money to spend right now. That's also okay. If you're like, well, that's all well and good for you guys to say that I don't have any money in my savings. That's okay. That's totally fine. It will change. It always changes.
Yeah.
You could put $1 in today and that would change the state of your savings.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about having that mentality though of your worth investing into.
Right.
Not just investing in shares, stocks, or crypto, whatever. It's not just that.
Yeah.
It can be you and your experiences and your memories and your moments.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is like spending money is, there are a couple of things that I have had to train myself to never feel bad about spending on. And even like now, I still have to remind myself, so it's anything regarding my health. If I'm investing in my health and I'm spending a lot on a workout class or like buying new organic food or whatever, that's fine, don't even question it. And experiences. Like those two things, if it's something that needs to happen, it's so rare that I spend money on an experience and then afterwards I'm like, oh man, that was not worth that like $100. No, that never happens. I can't think of a time when I was like, other than maybe like a restaurant where, oh, that wasn't worth it, but an actual experience, I can't think of a time when I went and spent the money and then afterwards I was like, oh, that wasn't worth it. Mm-hmm. Ever.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I can't think of one.
This is not a question on my list, but I'm curious, now that we've talked about your biggest lesson of 2024, do you have any intentions going into 2025?
I feel like I haven't sat and really thought about it. This end of the year for me has actually been really challenging. It's been really difficult transition time, and what that's been bringing and looking. There's so many changes of my identity that are underway. I just got engaged. I just moved houses. I just traveled overseas. I'm changing jobs. I've been running my own business for a very long time. I'm thinking about doing something different. It's just all of my identity pieces are changing.
Yeah.
I would say that my biggest intention for 2025 is to invest more in me. And when I say me, like in my happiness, in my health, in my well-being, like just starting at brick one and going straight into, okay, what does my health wealth look like?
I don't know if you guys can hear that. I have no idea how much this mic is going to pick. I know we were clear on the test, but that's going to be hilarious.
That would be so funny.
That's going to be so funny. All right, let's see what else I got. Is there a childhood dream that still lives within you?
I wanted to be an ear, nose, and throat specialist. An ENT. Actually, one of my childhood dreams is to become a personal trainer.
A personal trainer?
I think I'd be the best personal trainer
I think
ever.
you would too.
I think I'd be so good. and I'd love to be that bitch that runs classes. But I'm like, and 20 push-ups, let's go right now. And you're like doing it with them. Like F45 style, like fun dance boot camp mixed together.
I could see that for you.
Yeah.
I see that for you for sure. Okay. This I feel like you would have, I'm so curious about your answer because I feel like you probably have a million of these, but can you describe a magic moment from your life? I know you have so many. But this, you have to understand, the questions I'm asking these people, sometimes they're not Tony Robbins people.
Yeah, okay.
So,
They didn't have any magic moments?
okay, what about this past year? Give me a magic moment from this past year.
Okay, this is really beautiful. I just had my favorite Friendsmas that I've ever had.
Your favorite Friendsmas?
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
Makes me want to cry just thinking about it. I'm literally crying.
I just brought Heather tears.
So, over the past 4 years, me and my best friend Amy started Sunrise Dance Club. And so that means that every Friday morning on DY Beach in Sydney, Australia, a bunch of random people rock up and we have a speaker and we cue up whatever music we feel like, whether it's Eminem or some random Indian song that someone passing by recommended, or it's the YMCA or Moana, like the most random songs. And we just have a dance party for an hour and a half on a Friday morning at sunrise, and then go for a swim and then go and have breakfast. And over all of this time of doing this dance club, like completely free, just vibes only.
Yeah.
Over this time, got to build some really beautiful friendships and met some people that I would never have met if they hadn't have literally danced into my life.
Yes.
Danced
Yes.
into my life. And we had a beautiful Friends Christmas just the other week. And my mum is trying to take a photo of us in the background.
Oh.
Like a selfie. And so we had this beautiful Friends Christmas, and in the morning we did sunrise dancing, of course. We had our brekkie. We all went and had naps and did personal things for 2 hours because you need your time. Then we all went and met at the local nudist beach and went, and we're going to do something that like doesn't challenge me, to be honest with you. It did used to. I really used to be very, very body self-conscious. But go to the nude beach and we took a picnic and all the food we wanted and books and art and watercolors and card games. And we stayed there for 4 or 5 hours. And then after that we packed everything up, and then we went and got surfboards, and then we all went surfing together for sunset.
Did you went naked surfing?
No, this is at another beach now.
Okay, good. I'm
Sorry.
like, that would be ow.
No, another beach. I was wearing a full wetsuit. It was amazing. So then we went from there, went surfing all together, and then we went from surfing all to go to one of our friends for dinner, and then he cooked us bolognese, and then we all cooked some like random food, and then we watched a Christmas movie together.
That's
the
the most
holiday.
wholesome day.
It was so wholesome. It was so beautiful, and I got to, and as part of that unit as well is my fiance Adam, and it was just so nice to be able to share friends that we both like,
Yeah.
and who like both of us as well, and to just have straight up sibling beautiful fun. Well, not because someone prescribed it to us or we went to an event, because we decided what are all the fun things we wish we could have done if we were teenagers together. Let's go now and do them
Let's
all
do
in
it.
one day.
Yeah.
And now we're having a Friendsmas every month so we can.
I fucking love it. I fucking love it.
Oh my
That's
God.
so wholesome.
It was so wholesome.
Okay. What's something that you used to desire and used to wish for that's now
It's okay.
Go ahead.
It's okay.
That's like now a regular part of your everyday life?
The first thing that came to my mind was love. I was having an intimate partner that I can truly be myself around.
Yeah.
And I spent a large chunk of my life feeling like I was very unlovable, and to have that not turned on its head by him but by myself, and working through that over many years has been such a beautiful experience, to be met by someone who's just as smart as I am. and who's different to me. So I'm like quite out loud and he's quite not quite loud, but incredibly smart and notices things, and like we can talk about them later. And I really value that kind of depth of thought and creativity and fun. And to have that is so beautiful. I desired that for a really long time. I still desire that every day. It's not something that just happens. You've got to make it.
You work for it. Relationships aren't something that just, they're easy, but they're also not. They also take effort and consistency and
And they require two relationships, a relationship with them and a relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
You have to fully be in it with you in order to make it work with them.
Yeah, exactly.
And they have to be fully be in it with them in order to make it work with you. And it's just so I'm really grateful for that. And also the same thing, the love of my friends. Like my best friend, there was a long period of time where, like when I first started coming over her place as an adult, when you're kids you don't think about it so much, about taking up space.
Yeah.
But when I was an adult, I felt like I was taking up too much space, or I was unwanted, and I would check in with her and say, oh, I'm actually feeling quite like anxious being here because I feel like you want me to leave, and I'm just going to say it out loud. And she would look at me and she'd be like, no babe, I want you to stay. I never want you to leave. Stay over. Let me make you breakfast, dinner, lunch. Stay forever.
Yeah.
And just unpacking the internal commentary with a friend was so beautiful, but it took a lot of bravery from me in order to actually speak that out loud.
Yeah, because you have to say it, to be like, I'm feeling this is coming up for me. Yeah.
What if she said yes? You're so annoying, fuck off.
Yeah. But then you would have known. You would have been known. Probably not the gal pal for you.
Yeah. But now I have this beautiful friendship, and not just with her, but many of my friends, where I feel so completely safe and loved to be myself and not to get worried about whether I am important enough or lovable enough or smart enough or funny enough or gentle enough to be their friend.
Yeah. It's interesting with these types of relationships where I've only seen you once a year for 10 years or whatever. It's really interesting to watch the progression, because in our lives change so much, and we change and we evolve over time. But the really cool thing is that the core of who you are is always the same. Like, you're still the same at your core, how you are now, from like how I remember you when we were teenagers. Like, still the same core Heather, which is so cool to experience, like the duality of that, and to just be like, you're still the same person at the core. Like, you know, it's really beautiful to see, because you've always been this so charismatic, majestic, motherfucking majestic, loving, just bold character. And just so open-hearted and loving, and just being able to witness that and like hearing that, it's something I think a lot of people, I think everyone goes through it, like questioning if they're enough, and then having to have the honesty and the bravery to be like, this is how I'm feeling right now, instead of just keeping it to yourself.
That's the biggest thing, that's my best advice to me.
That was one of my questions. Okay, go ahead, say it.
My best advice to me is, I just forgot it. It's gone. Don't worry, it doesn't exist. No. It's about being brave to share what you think people are thinking out loud, and actually checking.
Yeah.
Like, actually check what people think, because if you're right, then you don't want to be with them anyway.
Right.
Like you just said.
Right.
And if you're wrong, good. Autocorrect, my friend. If you put your destination in Google Maps and it's taking you somewhere and you realize that that's not your destination, you best be changing the map.
Yeah.
Don't keep going to the old place. Like, reroute to where you need to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just stuck.
You're just stuck. And then you're so in your head about the whole thing about taking up space, and about, am I to this or am I to that, or am I showing up this way? Am I freaking this person out? Am I pissing this person off? Am I whatever? Instead of just being like, hey, I sense that I'm annoying you. Is that right?
And there's a really great quote, which I have no idea who it's by, so let's just attribute it to Carolyn Sampson, because I heard it first from her. And it says, when someone shows you who they are, let them. When someone shows you who they are, let them.
When someone shows you who they are, let them.
Don't make excuses for that person. Oh, it's okay, they're this. When someone is consistently showing you who they are, Let them. If someone tells you they're going to call you back and they don't call you back, let them. Does that make sense?
No, it's really profound, and I'm like letting it sit in.
It's good, right?
It's really good. Someone shows it in positive and negative ways. If someone's showing you who they are, let them. Wow. Mic drop moment. That's Carolyn Sampson. I fucking miss her.
I love her.
I love her so much.
You're the best, Carolyn. We love you. She's the best.
She's the fucking best. Thank you for chatting with me. I love you.
I love you too.
I'm so happy I get to see you. Thanks for coming. We love you. Goodbye.
I hope you guys love that episode as much as I did. I felt like Heather kept saying things that really, really resonated with my soul, and I'm sure they resonated with yours too. Her stories are just magical, and she's just this majestic creature, and I love being around her so much. Heather actually taught me how to surf a couple days later after that experience, so it holds such a special place in my heart, and I really, really enjoyed spending my time with her. I'm actually currently staying with her brother, Craig, who I'm also super close, and that interview is coming soon, so stay tuned. But I really, really enjoyed it. I feel like I'm learning so much from interviewing all of these people. Everyone has lived so much life, and everyone's had these beautiful, incredible experiences, and I feel so lucky to be able to connect with them and hear about their stories and be able to share them with all of you. So I hope you guys are enjoying this solo series. If you have any feedback, let me know. I'm really enjoying the whole process of it. If you guys want to stay up to date on how I get up to every day of the travel, I will be doing a series on my social media of kind of vlog style, like what I'm getting up to every day of my digital nomad journey. Maybe not every day, but most days of my digital nomad journey. So I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you next week on the Visualize Meditations podcast. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Visualize Meditations podcast. Please follow, subscribe, leave a review, all of the good things. If you want to connect more, you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Living Your Vision. So what are you waiting for? Get out there, create the life of your dreams, and we will see you next week.